Hello and welcome to Newslaundry. We are in Goa. We are about 4 days away from election polling, and with us today is Father Bolmax Pereira. Am I saying the name right?
Yeah, for the Bolmax Pereira.
Right. Pereira. And we just attended the Mass this morning. We are actually here to speak to him about the upcoming elections because, like no other state, Goa actually has a high Christian population. It's about 25%. And all the political parties contesting this particular election, there are about 12 parties and 300 candidates. They're going to be vying for the attention of Goa. And among them, the 25% of the Christian population make a very strong part of this voter base. And we're here actually to talk about what role the church in Goa plays in the elections that are upcoming in about 4 days. So, Father, I would actually, we can take a walk. So, I would actually like to start by asking you, how would you describe the role of the church in Goa?
Well, the role of the church is prophetic. Now, in our church, we teach our people that Jesus had a role, and the role of Jesus is priestly, prophetic, and kingly. So, here the church plays the prophetic role, and prophetic role is to bring to the awareness of people to teach them. So, it is like teaching. At the same time, it's an appeal. And as a kingly office of church, that is Christ served. So when we are choosing people to represent us in assembly, it is for service. So that is where church plays the role.
So this morning when the mass started, I could make out you were saying something about elections and candidates and voting. Could you explain to us what was it? I think it was right in the beginning.
Yeah. At the beginning of the mass, we have our intentions that are placed for mass. So every day we pray for elections in Goa. So we pray in three categories. At least in our church, we pray in three categories. First, we pray for the candidates. As you have mentioned, there are nearly 300 candidates. And from 300, we have to choose 40 to represent us in the assembly. So we pray for the candidates, every candidate. We don't know their names. We know only our names in Daboli constituency, perhaps, and few other names. But without taking names, we pray for all the candidates that we get good candidates, that candidates behave properly, that they be protected, especially during this time. We pray for all the voters. We have so many voters in Goa, and the present situation, mostly the people are confused because so many parties coming in, especially now with new entrants who have come, where to go, how to choose. So that God gives us enough wisdom to understand and choose. So we pray for the voters, and we also pray for the most important part of election, that is the election commission itself. Election commission and the entire team who are managing the entire system, the EVMs and booths, all that. So we pray for those who are taking care of the elections.
Has the high rate of defection also caused a lot of confusion for people and they've turned to the church to look for some sort of guidance?
Yeah, actually now this time the problem has been created by these defections itself. And after defection, how the assembly itself has behaved. The speaker himself, honorable speaker, could not even give after the complaints that were filed, the case is not yet solved about defections. So that has created a lot of confusion. So that poaching, buying, selling of our candidates, that is actually it's like no respect for the voters. We have chosen somebody, and after choosing, it is like we have no other role. So they go this side, that side, whatever might be their intention, whatever might be their need, and whatever might be their justification. So now coming into elections, people have that in mind. Whoever we choose on one particular party, will they remain or will they jump? And this defection is possible because nobody is taking action also. So this election happens to be special with that one reason as a special reason.
So, can you tell me a little bit about how does the mechanism of this messaging from the church work, right? Is there a top-down approach? Does everybody agree on, okay, this is the messaging that we would put out?
Yeah, now church messages come directly from the bishop. When we say bishop, it is not bishop who is talking directly, but we have Council for Social Justice and Peace. Now, this is the social wing of the church. The members of this team, that is Social Justice Council for Social Justice, they will not speak just in air. First, they will go on the ground, they will check with those who are politically active, they will check with the activists, they will check with the parishes, they will go to the local people, they will also speak to the political analysts. And after taking everything into consideration comes the message. Now, this message is approved by the bishop. Coming through the Council for Social Justice and Peace, they will send a letter to all the churches in Goa. We have been talking in our sermons, we have been talking to the people, otherwise also while interacting with others, even with the political figures. So it's a long process.
So, does the Department of Social Justice approach political candidates, or do candidates approach them? Is there an interaction between the department and the parties?
There is no direct contact, but surely the parties, the political parties, they need support. And when they need support, they go to the churches, they go to the temples, they go to the Catholic heads, they go to the Hindu heads, Muslim heads. That is their job, perhaps. But officially, there is nothing like that. They should come to the church officials, they should come to the temple officials. But yes, for political reasons, they are free to come.
So, do they interact more with this Department of Social Justice, or do they interact more with the priests in their own constituencies?
There's no hard and fast rule. And since there is nothing official between the church body and the political parties, they will not directly go to them. Now, if they know us, now Goa is very small and we know our candidates very well. They are walking with us, talking with us, and we are interacting. The political heads of the local parties, we are interacting with them otherwise. So when the election comes, first they will come to the local priests. They will try to gather the local people. And officially, there is nothing like, okay, since there is church, church is powerful, and that's why we have to go to the church heads, nothing like that.
We also see a lot of politicians come out with photos with their priest when it comes closer to election, right? Do you think that's part of the messaging?
That is part of the messaging from the political parties, not from the church. And personally, we would not encourage that. Only when election comes, then they need us on their photos. Okay, we can understand why we are needed over there and what they are trying to show to the people. But that is not part of the messaging from the church side.
Right. So let's just go back a little when we say that, okay, so the archbishop sends a letter, and then this letter goes to who?
The letter directly comes to the parish priest. Then the parish priest takes the message, talks to the parish council. We have a parish council in every church. So some of these things are discussed with the parish council, and then the message is given to the people either through our sermons or through our announcements. At the end of the mass today, you must have also heard that last prayer. The girl came on the pulpit and she prayed. That is a special prayer for elections. So before mass we have the intention, that time we bring up the intentions, and after mass we are praying this special prayer that has been sent by the archbishop through Council for Social Justice and Peace. So the entire thing is like, it is coming from the bishop, it is coming through the Council for Social Justice and Peace, through the priest at the church, it goes to the people. And we also have the WhatsApp groups now in every church. We practically have the WhatsApp groups. So this message of prayer is sent to the group so that they can pray at home also.
And I'm also trying to understand, just suppose there's a priest who probably disagrees with the messaging that the archbishop has sent. Is it an option to say, okay, I'm actually not going to put out this message, but something I believe in?
Now the message that comes from the bishop is not mandatory as such. It is a suggestive message. It is up to the discretion of each parish priest and the wisdom that each parish priest has. If there are some agreements, surely the first thing that I would need to do is convey to the Council for Social Justice and Peace that there is something that I cannot agree. and why I cannot agree. So perhaps if I cannot agree, other priests and other people also will find the same thing. So Council for Social Justice and Peace will be open to that, because before preparing this message itself, they will speak to many priests. So the message comes out after it is cleared and filtered. So mostly it is not like that the priest will not agree.
Right. And so once this, what is the kind of messaging that comes? Like now, especially like you were mentioning, there's so much defection, there's so many new parties. Is there a clear direction as to, which party to be voted for?
Um, Basically, not any party as such, but the issues. Now, right now in Goa, we have the big issue that is now communalization is going on at a great speed, which was not happening earlier. Other states we have heard, yes,
Can
communal.
you tell me what form that takes in Goa? Because it's actually very different from how communalism has played out in different states, right? How is communalism manifesting in Goa?
See, in Goa, uh, how our social life, cultural life has been is a very open and harmonious one. There has never been those type of riots that we have heard in other states. In Goa, we participate in each other's religious functions, cultural functions. So there's no Hindu, Christian, Muslim divide as such. That is our culture. So we are Goans. That is what keeps us together as Goans. But slowly now, after this present BJP government has come, so many things that are happening in other states, especially attack towards Christians, attack towards Muslims, that has been on the rise. And those who are in power have been silent about it. Now that is what we see at national level also. A prime minister chooses to keep silent whenever these things are going on. So same things are happening over here only also. So these fringe groups that are there, they will make some statements. They will try to incite, and they will try to create that divide. Now the recent one being um, Saint Joseph was we had Saint Joseph was Navinas, and the church, the place where it is held, it's a old church that has been, it is destroyed by natural. Now over there, this a fringe group from Bajrang Dal comes and makes statements that there was a temple over here, and olden temple, and bringing all that history, which is not correct history, actually a concocted history that they are trying to put forth. Depending on that, you must have all you must be aware what our chief minister made the recent statement that the temples were broken by the Portuguese and they need to be built back. So these things coming together, somewhere this present government is playing on the minds of the people. And what I see is this is not a religious problem, this is not a temple problem, this is not a church problem, this is a political problem. So somebody is sent first to make some noise. Once that noise is made, then that noise is made. The government, head of the government making such a statement is for all of us to understand what exactly it is. So I see it as a political problem, and that also now this time when the elections are coming close, so this type of things are coming. But one thing I should say, that is not going to work in Goa, because the Hindus that we have in Goa, the Catholics that we have in Goa, the Muslims that we have in Goa, we know what we are, what is the type of relationship that we have, and that cannot be broken by these political parties.
Not even when Amit Shah comes and says that the surgical strike is, and he talks about the surgical strike. Does that make any difference to Goans at all?
See, first of all, we see a lot of nonsense being spoken by these national leaders. It is shameful for us to say that these are our national leaders, what they are talking. Now, today, I'm reading that they are talking about liberation, that it should have been done 47 years in 1947. What exactly are you talking? Whom are you fooling? We had our liberation in 1961 when the Portuguese were here. There are ups and downs, of course. The colonialism that was there, we don't want the colonialism. We have fought against it. We have won our freedom. Indian army has helped us. Nehru has helped us. who had come over here and said, Goa ke log ajib hai. And yes, Goa ke log ajib hai. But in all these issues that are being brought up by Prime Minister and Mr. Amit Shah, I find it ridiculous. That has nothing to do with our life today. So this type of issues that are brought up, then connecting it to without saying they're trying to say something. If you ask them, they will say that is not what we have said. So the only thing that these people are doing is trying to play on the minds of people, and which is very bad. As national leaders, for me, that is very shameful. Our national leaders cannot be this type. Our national leaders have to be somebody who brings us together, but they are trying to divide.
So, what about, like, for example, love jihad has been a recurring issue that's come up in the last few years. And, like in Kerala, Church has actually joined hands with the BJP and said that we will support the BJP in its venture to eradicate this idea of love jihad, whatever exactly that may be. But what is it in Goa that, what's the stance been on the Church in with regards to these issues?
See, as I have already said, in Goa, the situation is totally different. We are a harmonious people, and we have never seen either Hindus or Muslims as a threat to us. Neither have the Hindus seen us, Catholics, as a threat, or even Muslims in Goa as a threat. Now, this Hindu Muslim issue is being raked up at the national level in other states. I feel that is find it that it is only a political tension that is being created by the politicians and these political parties only because they want power. And in order to have that power, they need to divide, they need to incite people and play with the emotions of the majority community.
Right. So now you are clearly unhappy with the current government in power in Goa as well as nationally. But when in 2012, when BJP did get voted into power, did the church have a role in the messaging that it did for BJP to come to power?
The church had a role in all the years in 2012 and before that also. And today also church has a big role, and that will work. But in all these, it has never been against a certain political party. Congress government was brought down in 2012, but it was the attack was not against Congress party as such.
So what was the messaging back
The
then?
messaging was about the issue. The issue at that time was corruption, and the corruption at high level, and people were upset with that corruption and at the level which it was going. Then the land issue, that is regional plan, has had been brought. That was part of that corruption. At the same time, it was about our identity. So whenever the issue is about our identity, church will stand. And the identity is not just Catholic identity or Christian identity, it is Goan identity. So the Hindus, Muslims, Christians, all of us are together in this where we are losing our identity. Losing land means losing identity. So in 2012, it was against the regional plan and at the same time the corruption level that was going on. And church gave the directives. The directives were not mandatory but suggestive, as I have said, that these are the issues. We have a land issue. This is being promoted by the present government, and the government is not relenting. And that is where we, the people, have to show our government what we want.
So
So,
you're saying while names of particular political parties are not taken up, there is an understanding as to what exactly you're trying to say.
yeah. So once again, the message is very clear. The message is about the issue. Now, since this issue is created by this political party, naturally they have to own it up, and people have to understand that. So finally, the elections are about the political parties. The government will be formed by one political party. So that means the government who is not behaving properly, not doing its duty towards the people, has to come down. So this time it happens to be BJP, and
So what has been the messaging this time?
the messaging is about identity. Once again, we are losing our identity, we are losing our environment. This time environment has taken the center stage, I feel. And Goan environment, or Goa, is about its environment and ecology. If we lose our ecology and our environment, I don't think anybody would want to come to Goa. Now you have come today as a reporter, but if you have to come as a tourist, why you are coming to Goa, basically? So because of our ecology, because of our environment, because of our culture, and the coastal areas that we have, the forest that we have. So if these are lost, you will not come.
And so, huh? Huh. So, So while this time's messaging has been against communalism, it's been for more environmentally safe practices and the Goan identity. Now we also know that now Goa has new parties, right? There's 12 parties. So even when you message it as don't particularly vote for this party, and in your messaging indirectly, are people still confused about who to vote for?
People are still confused, but the message that goes from us is please don't split the votes. Because now what we can see is the political strategies, the present government, they want to win. Everybody wants to win. And since they want to win, they have their strategies. And one of the strategy that is being used, which the Prime Minister himself said, is about divide and rule. They are using that and they're telling also that the opposition is using divide and rule. So the divide and rule can be put into practice by having these many parties.
And splitting votes would actually possibly bring back this government.
Yes, possibly that is going to happen if the votes are split.
I'm also curious now with all these new parties coming in. It must have been such a busy time for the church, because I'm sure like if there's 12 parties and you have candidates from so many different parties trying to vie the attention for the from the priest also. Have you had people from TMC and Aam Aadmi Party coming and meeting you, or do you think they haven't understood the importance of the role of the church in Goa?
No, practically all the parties have come to church. They have come to personally to me also, and I believe that they have gone tried to meet bishop also. They have tried to meet the Council for Social Justice and Peace.
So,
Everybody.
so who's visited you from TMC and Aam Aadmi? Has Kejriwal come and met you?
No, Kejriwal has not come personally to me, but he has sent his emissaries, including priests from Delhi.
Oh.
So, and of course, the from the Catholic community, those who are having some good positions in Delhi, they have been sent. And of course, I have given my open understanding about the things, and I have requested them also, please don't split votes, because Kejriwal's team of AAP will surely help in that split of votes. TMC is doing that in a big way, because TMC has just entered 4 months back, 4 months early to the elections. Nobody knows about TMC. There is no ground presence, nothing. They have just come with all the boards on the road and all media. With that, they have tried to make so much of noise, and poaching has been done by TMC.
We also know that TMC is today aligning with MGP, which is strongly Hindutva in its own way, right? The killer of Gauri Lankesh is essentially from this particular group. So I want to understand, does that make a difference to the church?
Basically, TMC and MGP combined that has come is not looked in favor, um, neither from officially by the church nor from the Catholic community that we have. Initially, when the noise was being made, people were coming towards TMC because what happened in Bengal, that BJP was defeated by Mamta Didi and all that hype that was created. But as we go forward, we can clearly see that they have not come to save Goa. So that is why people have already made up their mind. So being combined with MGP or any other party will not make much difference as such when it comes to deciding whether to vote for TMC or no.
Right. And now let's talk a little bit about the two leaders you've had from BJP, right? Manohar Parrikar and Pramod Sawant. We also went to Benelim yesterday where we spoke to a lot of people who actually said that maybe if Manohar Parrikar was still in BJP, they might still vote for BJP. There's been a change. So how would you describe Mr. Parrikar's relationship with the church?
I wouldn't say his relationship with the church as such, but Manohar Parrikar was good with everyone. So basically, he also belongs to the RSS cadre, but today what Pramod Sawant is doing has not been done by Mr. Parrikar.
What is the
That
difference?
BJP was different. It was sort of inclusive, and that is when during time of Manohar Parrikar, many Catholics joined the party. The Catholics were given seats, and people voted for them. They were brought to power. Today there are Catholics, but we see that Catholicness or the Christianness of these MLAs is lost in this party right now under Pramod Sawant, who looks to be in his own world. that governance, if I compare governance of Manohar Parrikar and governance of the present CM, Mr. Pramod Sawant, I see Parrikar was more with the Goan issues. Pramod Sawant doesn't seem to be with the Goan issues. Now, why I'm saying this, I'll justify that also. Uh, as far as double tracking is concerned, the three linear projects that are concerned, they were coming in much before. They have not come just now. When it came during Manohar Parrikar, he had rejected it. He had rejected double tracking and he had said, my Goa does not need double tracking. And now, when this fellow has come, he's not even ready to listen to the people. At least Manohar Parrikar was ready to listen to the people. When I say people, it is the informed people. Maybe you can call them activists, you can call them scientists. So the first thing that happened when three linear projects were, came to light, the first letter went from the scientists, around 200 scientists, objecting to the three linear projects through the Malay forests. These projects and these so-called as development projects are directly affecting us, and government is not listening to the things that are told in a nice way. If they had to listen to these scientists and the first thing that had gone to the government, then we would not have to agitate. So that is where church comes in afterwards. So if you are not listening to the people, then we need to move.
But this time, Pramod Sawant there was an IIT project that he proposed, which he did roll back on after agitation, right? So was that then appreciated by the people?
Appreciated by the people from the people's side, that they were resilient. They stood there on their ground. Because it has not been rolled back because the chief minister had some sense to accept people's demand. It was because he could not roll over them.
Right. There are almost 40 tribals who were then charged, and they have FIRs on them today. So you're saying that if Manohar Parrikar was alive, that probably would not even have happened. That protest would not have happened. He would have consulted people.
I feel so. He had his own ways to get his things done, but actually, or at least he would listen to the people. He would give a ear. Finally, he would make his own decisions in some other way. He had his own tricks. Now they are no more. But yes, he would have listened, I feel. But this government is not ready to listen, and many times we are just told lies. Now, even about these three linear projects, when we presented it to him, they agreed with us that these are not required and we will see that it does not come, the coal will be reduced, all that they have been saying. But the ground reality that we see is the other side.
So how many political parties have visited you so far,
Um,
right, for this election?
BJP has not yet visited me. I don't know what dushmani they have, or they are not confident of me. Yes, Congress has visited me, AAP has visited me, TMC has visited me, NCP has visited me, and local parties, the regional parties are not everywhere in Goa. They are only in few places, except one, that latest one that has come. They are fielded everywhere. The jump is too big without, it is like we are not sure whether we will be able to swim through, but we jump. That is the latest party that has come, the RGP.
I want to understand, then the last question I want to understand, do you think the people feel that the priest is more important than the MLA, or is the MLA more important than the priest in Goa?
Um, it's both the ways. When it comes to spiritual matters, priest is important. But since priests are involved socially, they will come to consult. But they know that priest cannot give you schemes. Priest cannot give you that money. Priest cannot give you the freebies. So as far as that part is concerned, the needs, the daily needs are concerned, MLA becomes important, and advice is required when there is some backstabbing for the people, or they are not getting their things done from the MLA. That is the time they will come for this type of matters. Spiritual matters, of course, every time it is a priest, but as far as the social matters or other matters are concerned, if they don't listen, that time they will come to the priest.
I also want to ask you right before we leave. are there different kind of sects within Christianity here? Like, what is the ratio of Protestants? What is the ratio of, are there Dalit Christians? Is there differences among the Christian community?
The Christian community in Goa is predominantly Catholic community. The churches are Catholic. Now we have some churches of Syro Malabar, that is the Kerala church. They also have some churches over here. The difference as such, there are Protestants, there are believers, there are other sects, but in a very small way. It's not, we have a Protestant church and we have a Catholic church.
Like it is the Syro Malabar Church in Kerala, which did support the BJP in Kerala with in regards to Love Jihad, right?
Yeah.
So, is there that difference between the Catholic Church and the Syro Malabar Church here?
No, I don't see that difference over here. Of course, we are different as far as our rights are concerned. But as far as life is concerned, okay, now Siru Malabar is not basically a Goan church, so Goan culture is not there. It's a Malayalam culture or Keralite culture. So I have not yet seen any interference from the Syro Malabar Church into the cultural or political issues in Goa. They are a small number, and I don't see any clash as such.
We've also really come across this conversation multiple times about, the idea of a Goan culture, the idea of feeling that the Goan culture is under attack, the Goan identity is under attack. Now, how do you explain a Goan identity? I mean, spiritually, emotionally, what is a Goan identity?
See, first of all, as Goan, we are open. We are open to everybody. So we are inclusive. And we have our culture directly connected with our land. So when we have our agriculture, we have our ecology, and we have that uh, harmony, the brotherhood that we have among all the religions, that becomes our fourth as Goans. The culture that we have is it is not like just one thing. We have so much in our culture which has come from maybe our ancestors. Then Portuguese culture has mixed with our culture, Indian culture has mixed with our culture. So it is a,
It's interesting actually that you say the Indian culture is mixed with our culture because the Goans kind of see like India as a separate sort of entity, as them having a bit of a different identity than most Indians would have.
yeah, now with Portuguese being here for so many years, that has given us a different type of identity. We cannot change that today, or we cannot say we don't want that and throw it out. That cannot be done. Our culture has come, like we are Indians, we are purely Indians. So our Indian culture is there. When we say Indian culture, Goan culture has always been different from other states, even before Portuguese. So our history doesn't date back to Portuguese time. Our history dates back to 6 BC or even before that. But before that, we don't have much things recorded. But our history goes back to that, where it was an agrarian society. And initially the nomads, then the agrarian society, then the Kumdad system. With Portuguese, it became a bit different. After Portuguese left, it is metamorphizing in a different way. So our culture is with our land, our culture is with our people, and how people have, as Goan people, we have also imbibed the values, the good values from other societies, especially the Portuguese, you can say, and also our Indian culture. So it is a mix. East meets West. It happens in Goa.
Thank you so much, Father, for taking the time out to talk to us. And as much as we would want to wish candidates best of luck for the election, it sounds like we must also wish you and the church good luck for this upcoming elections. We will also be doing a more detailed story from Benelim, where we spoke to multiple people to get a sense of how much influence or what role the church plays in the elections in Goa. This is Nidhi, Suresh, and Aditya Varier for Newslaundry.com.
We want to bring you the stories that matter, whether it be through interviews, ground reports, videos, or podcasts. So, if you believe in our vision, do head over to our website newslaundry.com and click on the subscribe button.